Hello, I'm Gventsadze, and I would like to present our work titled Micronutrient Content in Agricultural Soils and the Different Types of Land Use. This study was conducted at Scientific Research Center of Agriculture together with my colleagues listed here in the frame of the PhD work of Mr. Gventsadze, and this work was financially supported by National Science Foundation of Georgia. The aim of our study was to evaluate plant-available micronutrients in soil. Specifically, we focused on iron, copper, and zinc, and we were interested to find out how land use and crop-specific practices influence those nutrient contents and their availability to the plants. Here we see mean contents of those micronutrients, so iron, copper, and zinc, under different crops. And these crops are dominant crops on those lands, and normally crop rotation is not practiced in this region. And here we see that mainly copper showed highest concentration in soils under vineyards, which is in relation to copper-based fungicides used intensively in vineyards and accumulated through years and decades, as vineyards are permanent crops. Also, we were interested how those micronutrients are interrelated and if there are any specific correlations between them. And we see that especially iron and copper were closely related, and also copper was negatively related with the cation exchange capacity, and also showed positive relationships with potassium. And in case of zinc, we see strong negative correlation with organic matter and also with calcium carbonate, which was also expected, as we know that normally they are pounding zinc and limiting its availability to the plants. Also, we studied total so-called aquaregia extractable heavy metals, which also includes, of course, copper and zinc, as they are micronutrients, but at the same time, as we know it, they are heavy metals, and in high concentrations, they can be harmful as well. And we wanted to see how much those practices and land use established by farmers are in relation to elevated concentration of total forms or aquaregia extractable forms of heavy metals in soils, which are normally controlled, and there's established norms or maximum permissible concentrations to limit their adverse impact to the environment. And here we see that we studied nickel, which was mainly under the threshold, and also copper, which showed in some cases higher concentration than accepted. And this was mainly in the same plots where we observed higher mobile contents extractable in DTPA extraction. And here also we found out some higher concentrations in case of lead, and also zinc was higher in the same samples where it had high mobility and high availability potentially to the plants as well. And lastly, cadmium, which is one of the most toxic heavy metals, and cadmium also, as other metals, showed higher concentrations in most of the soils where we found out that we have higher concentrations than normally we have in those soils without specific impact from land use and farming practices. And finally, we can conclude that content of iron, copper, and zinc are influenced by land use type and crop-specific management practices, and unsustainable crop-specific management practice may cause higher concentration of certain nutrients and can reach potentially toxic levels and can accumulate also in the agricultural products. Also in soils with high micronutrient availability, where related with high content of heavy metals such as lead and cadmium, which is also constant normally. And finally, we can say that those correlations which we have seen again proves that soil properties play a key role in availability of studied micronutrients of iron, copper, and zinc to plants, and consequently it controls their availability to other environment. Therefore, this will be crucial to establish final control on micronutrients. And finally, we would like to thank you once more to our foundation for supporting this study, and thank you very much for your attention.